Assalamu alaikum, everyone. We're just going to start in a few more moments, just waiting for a few more people to join, and inshallah, we'll start in a few moments. Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and welcome to tonight's program. Tonight, we're gathered virtually to commemorate the Dasmo Majlis of Marhum Khushru Fazal, who departed um, um, more than 10 days ago now. Before I start the program, can I ask we recite a Surah Fatiha for Marhum Khushru, Gulamali Fazal, and Kull Marhumin. Al-Fatiha. We've got a slight change from our agenda. So can I now call upon Brother Salim Megji to start tonight's program with the Surah Yasin. Brother Salim Megji.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون أأتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغن عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وأعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملت أيديهم أفلا يشكرون سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعم من لو يشاء الله أنطعم من لو يشاء الله وطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم ألا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نعمره ننكس في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وظللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم يرى الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون. سورة الفاتحة.
Ahsan, brother Salim, for that lovely recitation. Can I now call upon Kumail Ismail to recite Surah Mulk, please? Kumail.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا وهو العزيز الغفور الذي خلق 7 سماوات طباقا ما ترى في خلق الرحمن من تفاوت فارجع البصر هل ترى من فتور ثم ارجع البصر كرتين ينقلب إليك البصر خاسئا وهو حسير ولقد زينا السماء الدنيا بمصابيح وجعلناها رجوما للشياطين وأعتدنا لهم عذاب السعير وللذين كفروا بربهم عذاب جهنم وبئس المصير إذا ألقوا فيها سمعوا لها شهيقا وهي تفور تكاد تميز من الغيظ كلما ألقي فيها فوج سألهم خزنتها ألم يأتكم نذير قالوا بلى قد جاءنا نذير فكذبنا وقلنا ما نزل الله من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا لو تكاد تميز من الغيظ كلما ألقي فيها فوج سألهم خزنتها ألم يأتكم نذير قالوا بلى قد جاءنا نذير فكذبنا وقلنا ما نزل الله من شيء إن أنتم إلا في ضلال كبير وقالوا لو كنا نسمع أو نأكل ما كنا في أصحاب السعير فاعترفوا بذنبهم فسحقا لأصحاب السعير إن الذين يخشون ربهم بالغيب لهم مغفرة وأجر كبير وأسروا قولكم أو اجهروا به إنه عليم بذات الصدور ألا يعلم من خلق وهو اللطيف الخبير والذي جعل لكم الأرض ذلولا فامشوا في مناكبها وكلوا من رزقه وإليه النشور أأمنتم من في السماء أن يخسف بكم الأرض فإذا هي تمور أم أمنتم من في السماء أن يرسل عليكم حاسبا فستعلمون كيف نذير ولقد كذب الذين من قبلهم فكيف كان نكير أولم يروا إلى الطير فوقهم صافات ويقبضن ما يمسكهن إلا الرحمن إنه بكل شيء بصير أمن هذا الذي هو جند لكم ينصركم من دون الرحمن إن الكافرون إلا في غرور أمن هذا الذي يرزقكم إن أمسك رزقه بل لجوا في عتو ونفور أفمن يمشي مكبا على وجهه أهدى من يمشي سويا على صراط مستقيم قل هو الذي أنشأكم وأجعل لكم السمع والأبصار والأفئدة قليلا ما تشكرون قل هو الذي ذرأكم في الأرض وإليه تحشرون ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين قل إنما العلم عند الله وإنما أنا نذير مبين فلما رأوه زلفة سيئت وجوه الذين كفروا وقيل هذا الذي كنتم به تدعون قل أرأيتم من أهلكني الله ومن معي أو رحمنا فمن يجير الكافرين من عذاب أليم قل هو الرحمن آمنا به عليه توكلنا فستعلمون من هو في ضلال مبين قل أرأيتم من أصبح ماؤكم غورا فمن يأتيكم بماء معين صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات.
Thank you, Komel. That was a beautiful recitation. Now we have a marthia by Shahid Fazal of Wanza. So if we can have the marthia, please. Of Wanza. So if we can have the marthia, please.
های हाय 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 हाय
of Wanza. So if we can have the marsiya, please.
खामोशियों से ही पूछो हाय 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 हाय
of Wanza. So if we can have the marsiya, please.
खामोशियों से ही पूछो में सहती रही हाय हाय यतीमी के ताने ये सहती से नहीं मां हाय 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 खामोशियों से ही पूछो इन आंसुओं से ही पूछो खामोशियों से ही पूछो इन आंसुओं से ही पूछो बड़े जुल्म राहों में सहती रही है यतीमी के ताने ये सहती रही है नहीं मार जालिम तमाचे इसे न कर इसका दुश्वार जीना बहुत रो चुकी है सकीना बहुत रो चुकी है सकीना सफर में ये सोई न जिंदा में आकर उजाला किया है यहाँ दिल जलाकर पदर से जो बिछड़ी है आशूर को सुकून पा सकी फिर कभी ना बहुत रो चुकी है सकीना बहुत रो चुकी है सकीना मिला दश्त में जब के बाबा का लाशा लिपट के पदर से किया खूब गिरिया वहाँ पहुँच ज़ैनब तो शह ने कहा सुला दो इसे जा के बहना बहुत रो चुकी है सकीना बहुत रो चुकी है सकीना रसन दे गई है निशानी गले पर है पेशानी जख्मी जो खाए थे पत्थर, निशान है तमाचों के रुखसार पर, मसाइब से जख्मी है सीना, बहुत रो चुकी है सकीना, बहुत रो चुकी है सकीना। कभी अपने बाबा के कातिल से डर कर, कभी रोई जिंदा में तन्हाइयों पर, कभी बोली ज़ैनब के अब घर चलो, हुआ एक बरस एक महीना, बहुत रो चुकी है सकीना, बहुत रो चुकी है सकीना। कयामत की एक रात ऐसी भी आई, क़ज़ा ने सकीना को लोरी सुनाई, कहा रो के सज्जाद ने ऐ पुपी, के अब रोएगी फिर कभी ना, बहुत रो चुकी है सकीना, बहुत रो चुकी है सकीना। खामोशियों से ही पूछो, इन आंसुओं से ही पूछो, खामोशियों से ही पूछो, इन आंसुओं से ही पूछो। पर मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सलवात। Surah Fatiha is requested for Marhum Khushru uncle and Jumla Marhumin. Al-Fatiha.
Thanks to Shahid for that lovely marsiya. And our apologies for the slight technical hitch that we had. Now, can I call upon our esteemed guest, Dr. Ali Al-Hilli, to deliver tonight's lecture? Please can we welcome him with a salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Dr. Ali Al-Hilli.
Thank you very much, brother. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم اللعين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. Sisters and brothers in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. I'm pleased to be with you today, commemorating the death of the esteemed brother Khushru Fazal, the son of Gulamali Fazal. And inshallah, the topic for today's discussion, inshallah, will be 5 things to do before we die. It is important, my dear brothers and sisters, that the death of our dearest uncle is a reminder, serves as a reminder for us all that this life is very much temporary. This life is very much one that we cannot take very seriously. Accumulate wealth and accumulate focus on the dunya much, but also we do need to think about the akhirah, think about our fate, think about our everlasting position in after death. And death is a reality. We've seen that with the demise of the dear uncle. We've seen that with the demise of so many people in this very, very disturbing time that the whole world is going through, this pandemic. We know people who have died. We know individuals who have lost their lives because of COVID and because of other reasons. And death is natural, of course. Death is a necessity. One must die, and this is something that no two people can disagree with. This is when you come and discuss these particular issues with people, there is a fact here, and everyone, unless they are deluded, one has to accept that death is a reality. Death is a fact. Now, for us as mu'mineen, death serves as a final stop at the end of our trial in this land, in this life, in this dunya. And some of us travel for a long time. Some of us travel until our 90s, and maybe we hit 100. Some of us travel very, very little. Some of us die when we are very young. Some people die when they are in their 30s. Some people die when they're 40s, 50s, 60s, etc. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written a particular age for every single one of us. However, the main question here, my dear brothers and sisters, is what can we do to prepare for that inevitable day? Remember, it's a fact. It's an inevitable day. Whether it's tonight, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's the day after, whether it's in a month, a year, 2, 3, 10 years, whatever, it is a must and it is a fact. Malakul Maut, the angel of death, will come, right? He might be coming around soon, or he might come later. And he visited our dearest uncle at that particular time, around 10 days ago. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless the soul of our dear uncle. But it could be us in the future, and it has to be us. It has to be us. So the question here, my dear brothers and sisters, is that when we go through a death experience with our relative or a friend that we know, it must serve a reminder. There is a narration from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. He says, I want you to remember udhkuru hadim al-ladhat. He said, I want you to remember always the destroyer of pleasures, the destroyer of pleasures. And they said, what is this destroyer of pleasures, O Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi? He said, this is death, right? Death is the destroyer of pleasures. Whenever we remember death, it destroys any sort of lust or anything that we, excessive lust. Of course, pleasure is important in life, whatever. It must not exceed, of course, it must not be excessive and does not cross the red line of our Sharia. So therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, today I have set a reminder for myself and for you, inshallah, 5 things that we can remind ourselves with, and 5 things that we should really, really, as soon as possible. Don't wait. Don't think that if you are a youth, the death will not come to you. We saw with a brother Nur Ali, Aqil, I think Nur Ali, who a very young boy, a lawyer, solicitor, who died around a month ago. Suddenly, he had a heart attack. He was in his 20s. He had a very young daughter, right? So death can come at any time. Don't think that I am young, I am healthy, especially at this time, the time of the time of a pandemic, that death can come at any moment. So it's important for us to prepare for it, right? We prepare for the inevitable. That's what we need to do. We need to prepare for the inevitable, right? And inshallah today, in the next 20 minutes or so, inshallah, we will gather together and try to go through 5 main steps. There are many, of course, but there are 5 that I have gathered for us to contemplate on and try to prepare for, inshallah. I will start with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajah. Right. So, 5 things to do before we die. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say in the Holy Quran? He says, of course, when we talked about death and the reality of death, he says, Kullu nafsin dha'iqatul maut. Now, I want you to pay attention to this, my dear brothers and sisters. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, every soul will taste death. Kullu nafsin dha'iqatul maut. Now, he did not say that every soul will die. How can every soul taste death? What is that supposed to mean? You either die or you don't die. Yes? But Allah here says every soul will taste death. Yes? The reason is because what happened? What is the definition of death? The definition of death is when the body, the physical body, the flesh I have, departs and is taken away from the soul. So this is the soul and this is the body. We're all in one now, right? As a living creature. I am still breathing, I am not dead, right? So therefore I have the soul and the body together. What happens during death is when the soul detaches from the body. So therefore the soul tastes death. Yes, you with me? So the soul detaches from the body, so it tastes death. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says in chapter number 3, verse 185, he says, Kullu nafsin dha'iqatul maut. When it detaches itself, the soul detaches itself from the body, it tastes death. So therefore, what happens to the soul? The body goes down under. So now with our demise, the late uncle, his body has been detached from his soul, right? His body has gone into the grave, but his soul is living. His soul is not dead. The soul will not die, my dear brothers and sisters. The soul will not die, right? The soul will continue forever and ever and ever, yes? Until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decides what happens to it. Yes. So therefore, what we need to accept here is that I need to prepare for the strength and giving energy to the soul, not so much to the body, because the body will decompose under the earth, right? When we bury the body, right, the body will decompose, correct? But the soul will continue. So it makes logical sense for me to care more about the soul than the body. Yes, I've got to care about my body. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to the Holy Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, he says, وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا. Don't forget that you have a part in dunya, so make use of it. It's fine. You know, entertain yourself on the halal things, right? Go out with friends, do things, whatever, you know, but of course it has to be on halal, right? But of course, what's important, more important than this, you've got to strengthen the soul, because the soul will stay with you. The soul will stay with you. The soul, depending on how the condition of the soul is, you will live in the afterlife before Yawm al-Qiyamah in a beautiful life or in a really bad life, right? And then in Yawm al-Qiyamah, of course, it's your fate, right? All depending on the soul, the condition of the soul. Is the soul miserable? Is the soul full, intoxicated with so much hate, so much backbiting, so much disrespect, so much bad akhlaq, right? Is intoxicated or no? You know, the body is beautiful. The body, you've got a slim body. You know, some of the boys, our brothers, goes to the gym. You put in these muscles, it's beautiful. But what about the soul? Is the soul so beautiful like the body? Because the body will decompose. It doesn't matter. But the body, the soul is the one that will continue with you, right? So I've got to look after this. I've got to look after this soul, shouldn't I? Yes? So Allah says, كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ. Now the question is, how can we prepare for the day that the soul will depart from the body, right? And I want to strengthen this soul, right? So the first thing that I would like to talk to you about, my dear brothers and sisters, is knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My dear brothers and sisters, I believe that we are a community that we are drifting away from knowing the essence of our religion, which is knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Remember, all the prophets, including Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, but Prophet Muhammad had an extra role, but all the 124,000 prophets had one mission, which is to know Allah and spread the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, to tell the people there is Allah and to explain to people who is Allah. I find, my dear brothers and sisters, our community is drifting away from this. Why? It's because we are focusing too much on what is halal, what is haram. What is najis, what is not najis. Can I do this and can I not do that? Yes, 100%. This is important. I'm not saying it is not important. I am saying, yes, we must ask questions about, can I do this? But Allah has given us aql, has given us intellect, right? To think, to not to always be like sheep. Imam Ali alayhi salam says, he was giving his letter, the letter to his sons, Hassan and Hussein alayhi salam. He says, people are like, they drift like where the wind drifts. Where the wind is drifting, I'll go after it. No, maybe the wind is drifting the wrong way. Come back. You know, you're going to come back, right? So we've got to use our intellect, right? So what I'm trying to say here is that we've got to use our intellect to know the essence of our religion, to know the principles of our religion, which is to get to know our Lord. How many of us spend time to get to know Allah? Who is Allah? I'm asking you, who is Allah? I'm going to give you 30 seconds. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to belittle my elders here who I very much respect and the others here, right? I'm asking myself here this question. We need to go back to principles. Before I die, I need to know Allah, because Munkar wa Nakir, the angels, when I die, they ask me this question. They say, Man Rabbuk? Who is your Lord? And if I did not know Allah, the word Allah can't come out of my mouth, there are some narrations say. I can't say Allah because I didn't know who Allah is. Yes, I worship Him. Yes, I talk about Him. But in here, in my qalb, in my heart, who is Allah? Do you know the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Yes? Is Allah injected in your heart? Right? So these are important questions, my dear brothers and sisters. Imam al-Rada says this beautifully. He says the very first steps, there's a narration from Imam al-Rada alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. He says the very first step to Allah's worship is to attain inner knowledge of Him. So some of us just go straight into worship. Allahu Akbar, I go on fast. Wait. The first step to Allah's worship is to attain inner knowledge. How many of us know the inner knowledge of Allah? And the origin of attaining inner knowledge, yes, of Allah is through His divine unity. Wahdaniyya, the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes? And he continues, he says, the very basis of His divine unity is to negate any kind of limitations from him. Since the intellects are able to witness that every being is created with limitations. We are limited, my dear brothers and sisters. We are limited. I mean, I can't live without breathing. Can you live without breathing? I can't live without breathing. I am limited. I am limited with space. I am in this room. I am limited with space. There are 4 walls, right? I am limited with time. I'm given time because I might live 50 years. I might live 60 years. I will die. But Allah is limitless. Allah is not limited with space. Allah is not limited with time. Allah is not limited by certain attributes that will stop him from living. Like us, like we need to breathe, we need to eat, we need to drink. No, Allah is limitless. Allah is everywhere, my dear brothers and sisters. Not when we look at the sky, we say this is Allah. No, Allah is everywhere. Allah is there in your room. Allah is here in my room. Allah is inside me. Allah is everywhere. Yes? We've got to create that culture of loving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not us telling people, you will go to hellfire because this is haram. This is haram, 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 haram. No, stop. Yes? The religion of Islam is a religion of love, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said so many times, if you do a mistake, if you do a sin, I will forgive you, no problem. I will forgive you. Believe in that, because Allah is loving. That's how we get to know him. One of his attributes is his loves. He loves me, but he's asked me, look, I love you so much and I will take you to somewhere amazing, but I'm going to give you some trials. I'm going to test you to find out if you are worthy of going to these trials. But if you fall, I will pick you up. Don't worry. Inna ma'al usri yusra. With every trial comes ease. With every difficulty comes ease. I will pick you up. If you fall, I'll continue picking you up. Don't worry. But without falling, you will not learn. Some of us, we fall, but we don't get up. Yes, I'm diagnosed with an illness, right? Or a relative died, or I lose my job, I lose my business, right? I fall. Allah says, get up, get up, get up, come on. Say, no, I'm not getting up. Why have you done this to me? No, get up. Don't worry, this is just dunya. And you will meet those who you love in the hereafter, inshallah. Don't worry, this is temporary, right? Get up. No, no, no. Why has Allah chosen me? Why isn't not this person got this trial? Why isn't this person got this illness? Why me, right? No, get up. It's okay. There will be ease. I'm just trialing you out. I'm just trying to find you. Do you know me well? Allah says, do you know me well? I forgive you. I love you. I just want you to go through trials so that you become stronger, my dear. Yes, we've got to know Allah. And this is a big topic, my dear brothers and sisters, that I don't really have much time to talk about. But let's focus on that. Number 2, my dear brothers and sisters, is remove all hatred from your heart. Now, before you die, do you really want to have so much filth in your heart? Ask yourself that question. How many people, let's make a list. Come on, let's make a list. Everyone make a list. How many people do we not talk to? How many people I hate? How many people you think have caused so much distress to you that you'll never talk to them? But is that, I ask you that question, is that the right thing to do? Is this what our A'immah used to do? Even to their enemies. Is this what they used to do? Al-Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Why did al-Hurr come back to Imam al-Hussein? Because Imam Hussein did not have hate in his heart. You do not have hate on people, but you have hate on what? On actions of people. You hate killing. You hate deceiving. You hate backbiting. Yes? But not, you hate individuals, because those individuals are the creation of Allah. Yes, the actions they have done is the wrong action. Allah will punish them for this. But you should not hate. Because if you hate, you will only start to draw black circles in your heart, black holes in your heart that will affect your connection with the Almighty. Yes, it will affect the connection with the Almighty. So we've got to remove all hate. What is hate? You know, some people ask, you know, you tell me to remove hate, but what is actually hate? Hate is to dislike intensely or passionately, feel extreme aversion for or extreme hostility towards, or you detest. So you have extreme hostility towards an individual, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, this is beautiful. Look at this, is your prophet. This is our prophet, my dear brothers and sisters. Let's be like him. He says, لَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ. He's the same as you. He's from amongst yourselves. عَزِيزٌ عَلَيْهِ مَا عَنِتُمْ. It grieves him that you shall perish. مَا عَنِتُمْ حَرِيصٌ عَلَيْكُمْ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَؤُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ. He is very much concerned about you. He cares about you. Yes? Doesn't have hatred towards you. He's concerned about you. He cares about us. Yes? حَرِيصٌ عَلَيْكُمْ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَؤُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also say? He says, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ. I hope everyone is saying this with me. In chapter 49, verse 10, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ. And then what? فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَ أَخَوَيْكُمْ. Make peace between your brethren. The believers are brethren. Sisters are sisters. Brothers are sisters. Brothers are brothers. Therefore, make peace between your brethren. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهِ. Be God conscious. لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ. So that you be, maybe, so Allah that has mercy on you. Right? How many of us, again I say, how many of us don't like other people? Maybe I have a problem with my spouse. Maybe I have a problem with one of my children. Maybe I have a problem with my parent. Yeah? Maybe I don't like my father, or I don't like my mother. No, no, no. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives so much importance to birr al-walidain. And you know this. You know this very well. There's no point me telling you this. You know it better than I do. Birr al-walidain. Right? There's a hadith that says that if your parents are not pleased from you, Allah will not be pleased from you. All your worship will not be accepted. This is the hadith. It says if your parents are not pleased from you, all your worship will not be accepted. It's so important. Right? Even if you think that your parents are not right, are incorrect, are wrong, must be respect in this. There must be huge respect to parents. Allah has made this so to preserve the community, to preserve the family, therefore to preserve the community. Yes? And it's important for us to preserve the community. There's a lot to talk about this. So three very quick suggestions. How can I stop hating? Examining why you hate. Let's examine, just sit down with ourselves, do this muhasabah, accountability, and examine why do you hate. Go deep into it, and maybe you will find a bit of mercy in your heart. Allah is so merciful. We are not merciful at all. We have His attributes, by the way. Allah has built the attribute of being forgiving and merciful in us, but we don't use it. It's out of order in some of us. Yes? Can you think of any counter examples to your belief? Maybe there is a different reason why, where you should consider not to hate that particular individual, and perhaps you should make peace with them. There is some area of forgiveness. Number two, consider hating the action, not the person. Maybe the person said something to you. Maybe they swore at you. Hate the swearing. Don't hate the person. You understand that? Hate the action, not the person. Think of hate this way: healing aggressive thoughts emotionally. Right? Use your emotions in the best possible way. Yes? To try to put a bit of ice on your sort of anger and the heart that is burning with hatred, right? Put a bit of cold water into it. Do number 3. So we've talked about knowing Allah. We've talked about what? We've talked about don't hate. And number 3 is do your qada worship. My dear brothers and sisters, whoever has qada, make sure you do your qada. Qada, what is qada? So qada is if you have missed prayers, if you have missed any prayers, if you have missed any fasting, if you have not done your hajj, right? If you have not paid your khums, if you have not paid your zakat, yes, please do this as soon as possible. Try to do them as soon as possible. Yes. Some people have many years of doing qada for prayer. That's okay. It's okay. Try to at least do them. Don't delay them and say, oh, tomorrow I'll do them. And tomorrow comes, oh, I'm very tired. Tomorrow I'll do them. Oh, not tomorrow I'll do them. No, tomorrow you might die, my dear brother or sister. You might die. Death is a reality. Don't leave it to tomorrow and the tomorrow and the tomorrow. No, start doing that. If you have, for example, 1 year of qada, try to every prayer, pray 2. So for Salatul Fajr, when you wake up, Salatul Subh, pray another one. For Salatul Dhuhr, pray another one as qada. So you pray 2 Salatul Dhuhr. One, the compulsory one, and the other one is the qada one. The other Salatul Asr is the day, that day Asr prayers, and you do another one. And keep a record. Keep a record until you finish it, inshallah. I'm sure you will, right? What about fasting? What about hajj? Some of us are sitting on money. Oh no, I have to renovate my house. I have to make it superstar because my friend has renovated his house. Baba, have your priorities right. Hajj strengthens that soul. Remember that soul we talked about? It strengthens it. And also it's wajib, it's worship. Give, if you can afford it, make sure you go to Hajj as well. Number 4, work for Allah's sake and the community. My dear brothers and sisters, how many of us have not given any time to work for Allah's sake and the community? Before you go, it's vital that you help the ummah in any way possible, shape or form. In chapter 9, verse 71, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says this beautiful verse. He says, وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتُ. Remember, he says here in a plural sense. The mu'mineen, the mu'minat, the believers, the women and the men, right? بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْض, right? They're guardians of each other. This is a ummah, this is a community. We look after each other, right? They enjoin good and forbid evil. We all chip into society. If we see something is good, we enjoin it. If we see something evil, we make sure we forbid it. Yes? And keep up prayer, right? And pay the poor. And obey Allah and His Messenger. Allah will show mercy to them. Surely Allah is mighty, wise. This is a narration in Al-Kafi, volume 2, page 67. He says, "Man asbaha la yahtam bi umuri al-muslimin falaysa minhum." Whomsoever does not care, if you don't at least care in your heart about the affairs of the Muslim ummah, you are not amongst the Muslims. And another narration, it says, you are not even a Muslim if you do not care about the affairs of the Muslim ummah. If you do not care about the affairs of the Muslim community, in your community, if you are Pakistani, if you are Khoja, if you are Iraqi, if you are Iranian, if you are Lebanese, if you are Indian, if you are wherever you are, in your community, you must give time. You must give some effort. I want you to ask yourself this question, my brothers and sisters. And again, forgive me for asking, but I want us to reflect. It's a reflective session. I'll give around 20 seconds. In a typical week in my life, how much time do I give for the community? Let me ask myself this question as well. I'll give you 20 seconds. Let's do a reflective session here. And it's not just me talking to you, but also let's do a collective reflective session. Let's assess ourselves. You don't need to answer this question to me. Answer this question to yourself. I'll give you 20 seconds, inshallah. If it's 0, then please, my dear brothers and sisters, we need to give at least a phone call to an ill person. That's helping the community, right? I know you can't visit now, but at least a phone call, right? Where is this person? I haven't seen him for a long time. Yes, maybe helping out in the ghusl of the marhumi, right? Now maybe the local mosque will need some volunteers, right? We need for some volunteers. During COVID, maybe they need volunteers to take food to the elderly. Who's caring about our elderly, right? There's a lot to do, my brother. Don't say there isn't anything to do. There's a lot to do, right? And what about teaching? Maybe you can teach the Quran. Maybe you can teach Islamic to kids, to whoever. There's a lot to do. So please do give as much time as possible. And finally, my dear brothers and sisters, before we die, we should settle any debts and we write a will. This is so important. Try to settle debts. I know that some of you can't settle the debts because you don't have, but try to chip in a bit, maybe a few pounds here and there. At least you're contributing to the debt. And also importantly, write a will, my dear brothers and sisters. You don't want to die without a will. Talk about your iman, talk about the people you love, talk about your worship if you have qada, talk about your debts, right? Talk about the Umrah, Hajj, if you haven't done them, Hajj especially, etc. Talk about all these things. And there is a verse in the Quran that says, كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمْ إِذَا حَضَرَ أَحَدُكُمُ الْمَوْتِ. It is prescribed that when death approaches you, the Malik al-Maut comes to you, if they leave something of value, if you leave something of value, a will should be made in favor of parents and immediate family with fairness. And there is this particular website called shiawills.org. Shiawills, WILLS.org, right? It is done by the World Federation of KSIMC in partnership with Africa Federation and the Council of European Jama'at, right? And the rulings according to His Eminence, Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Sistani, right? So it gives you an example, right? It builds up with you how to write a will. Go to visit that website. Until we write a will, we go through these particular steps, my dear brothers and sisters, then inshallah we can at least say, I am prepared for Malak al-Maut to come to me. We said, know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, give effort to knowing getting this inner knowledge of Allah. We talked about remove all this hatred from your heart. We talked about what? We talked about worship al-qada, right? Do your qada. We talked about, of course, writing a will, right? And making sure you pay your debts, right? And what was the other one? We talked about, of course, caring for the community and helping the people in the community. Give your times for the community. And with that, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the best of health in this particular time. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the arrival of our 12th Imam al-Hujjah, ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu al-sharif. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the opportunity to visit the shrines of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, and also to visit, to do the pilgrimage of a Hajj if we haven't done. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give shifa to all those people who are who are ill, who are sick of COVID, of cancer, of mental health. My dear brothers and sisters, mental health issues are rising in the community, depression and different anxiety and different mental illnesses. Raise your hand to the sky. Always remember those individuals who are suffering in this world. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give wealth to those individuals who are suffering financially. And finally, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us prepare for death, prepare for that hadim al-ladhat, the destroyer of pleasures. And finally, we recite Surah al-Fatiha for the soul of Khushru Fazal, the son of Gulamali Fazal. Before that, we do a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. الصراط المستقيم صراط صدق الله.
Ahsan, Dr. Ali Al-Hilli. A very enlightening lecture, lots of food for thought so that we can prepare for that day when it arrives. Ahsan, thank you, Dr. Ali Al-Hilli. Now I'm going to call upon Muhammad Mehdi to recite Ziyarat Ashura.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا خيرة الله وابن خيرته. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد الوصين. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة سيدة النساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والورث الموتور. السلام عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. يا أبا عبد الله لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت وعظمت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل الإسلام. وجلت وعظمت مصيبتك في السماوات على جميع أهل السماوات. فلعن الله أمة أسست أساس الظلم والجور عليكم أهل البيت. ولعن الله أمة دفعتكم من مقامكم وأزالتكم من مراتبكم التي رتبكم الله فيها. ولعن الله أمة قتلتكم. ولعن الله الممهدين لهم بالتمكين من قتالكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم ومن أشيائهم وأتباعهم وأوليائهم. يا أبا عبد الله إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم إلى يوم القيامة. ولعن الله آل زياد وآل مروان. ولعن الله بني أمية قاطبة. ولعن الله ابن مرجان. ولعن الله عمر بن سعد. ولعن الله شمرا. ولعن الله أمة أسجت وانجمت وتنقبت لقتالك بأبي أنت وأمي. لقد عظم مصابي بك. فأسأل الله الذي أكرم مقامك وأكرمني بك أن يرزقني طلب ثارك مع إمام منصور من أهل بيت محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم اجعلني عندك وجيها بالحسين عليه السلام في الدنيا والآخرة. يا أبا عبد الله إني أتقرب إلى الله وإلى رسوله وإلى أمير المؤمنين وإلى فاطمة وإلى الحسن وإليك بموالاتك وبالبراءة ممن قاتلك ونصب لك الحرب وبالبراءة ممن أساس الظلم والجور عليكم وأبرأوا إلى الله وإلى رسوله ممن أساس ذلك وبنى عليه بنيانا وجرى في ظلمه وجوره عليكم وعلى أشيائكم برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم وأتقرب إلى الله ثم إليكم بموالاتكم وموالاة وليكم وبالبراءة من أعدائكم والناصبين لكم الحرب وبالبراءة من أشيائهم وأتباعهم إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم وولي لمن والاكم وعدو لمن عاداكم فأسأل الله الذي أكرمني بمعرفتكم ومعرفة أوليائكم ورزقني البراءة من أعدائكم أن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة وأن يثبت لي عندكم قدم سمك في الدنيا والآخرة وأسأله أن يبلغ المقام المحمود لكم عند الله وأن يرزقني ظلم الثار مع إمام هدى ظاهر ناطق بالحق منكم وأسأل الله بحقكم وبالشأن الذي لكم عنده أن يعطيني بمصابيبكم أفضل ما يعطي مصابا من مصيبته مصيبة ما أعظمها وأعظم رزيتها في الإسلام وفي جميع السماوات والأرض اللهم اجعلني في مقامي هذا ممن تناله منك صلوات ورحمة ومغفرة اللهم اجعل محياي محيا محمد وآل محمد ومماتي وممات محمد وآل محمد اللهم إن هذا يوم تبركت به بنو أمية وابن آكلة الأكباد اللعين ابن اللعين على لسانك ولسان نبي صلى الله عليه وآله في كل موطن وموقف وقف نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله اللهم لعن أبا سفيان ومعاوية ويزيد بن معاوية عليهم منك اللعنة أبد الآبدين وهذا يوم فرحت به آل زياد وآل مروان بقتلهم الحسين صلوات الله عليه اللهم فضاعف عليهم اللعن منك والعذاب الأليم اللهم إني أتقرب إليك في هذا اليوم وفي موقفي هذا وأيام حياتي بالبراءة منهم واللعنة عليهم وبالموالاة نبيك وآل نبيك عليه وعليهم السلام اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك اللهم لعن الإصابة التي جاهدت الحسين عليه السلام وشايعت بايعت وتابعت على قتله اللهم لعنهم جميعا السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر الأهل مني لزيارتكم السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. اللهم خص أنت أول ظالم باللعن مني وابدأ به أولا ثم الثاني والثالث والرابع. اللهم لا يدين خامسا والعن عبيد الله بن زياد وابن مرجان وعمر بن سعد وشمرا وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم القيامة. اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين لك على مصابهم. الحمد لله على عظيم رزيتي. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود وثبت لي قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام. سورة مباركة الفاتحة.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Thank you, Muhammad Mehdi, for that recitation. I'm now going to call upon one of the granddaughters of Khushru uncle, Alicia Hemani. She would like to say a few words. So, Alicia.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm Alicia Hamani, one of Khushru Fazal's granddaughters, and today I'm going to be saying a few words about him. Khushru Gulamali Fazal lived a remarkable life, one that has left behind an undeniable legacy and inspired me greatly. His loving nature, his broad range of interests, and his cheery demeanor made him a wonderful person to know and to call my Nana. He was forever patient and generous with his time, and his love towards all those he knew was infinite. He was philosophical in his approach to life and a beacon of wisdom for us all. I remember the fun times with Nana, where we would play games testing our knowledge. Nana, being quite the academic himself, would quiz us on maths, English, geography, history, and so much more. We would write stories for him, all desperate to win his approval for the best story. Who was the fastest to add up 600 plus 1,000 divided by 25 times by 4, he would say. Of course, all 7 of his grandchildren were there, competing to give Nana the correct answer first, and watched in awe and amazement as Nana, the human calculator, added up the sums all in his head in a matter of seconds. Unbelievable. Now, in case you didn't know, my Nana's greatest love, sorry Nanny, was fruit. I will miss trying all the unusual and tropical fruits that Nana would discover. He would cut them up and share them amongst all his grandchildren. Now, even though most of the fruits we tried were delicious, sometimes we had to pretend that we liked the super sour grapefruits, because even though we didn't like them, Nana couldn't get enough of them. He especially had a great perspective when it came to the little things, never displaying anger or impatience. Instead, he showed great dignity, appreciation, and humor. And he remained this way, even through some of the toughest times he faced due to his health. But still, not once did we hear the slightest complaint. I completely admire my Nana for this quality, especially since it doesn't seem to have been passed down to me quite yet, but I hope to be more like him every day. I will miss the warm embrace of Nana, but mostly that constant smile that would never leave his jolly face. It has truly been the greatest blessing to be able to call him my Nana. Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia, for that very eloquent little talk, very well put, and inshallah, I'm sure all his traits will filter down through to all of his grandchildren, inshallah. Before we finish tonight's program, I too have been asked to say a few words about our beloved Marhum Khushru uncle. When I was asked to say a few words about Uncle by Surya, my first thought was, I've so much to say, so much to share. Where do I start? So I looked up what Khushru meant on Google, as you do nowadays. It means beautiful or handsome. Wow, how apt. He was definitely Khushru both by name and by nature. Khushru Uncle Marhum was one of the most kindest, positive and gentle person I had the privilege to know. He never raised his voice, nor did I ever see him angry. He was the calm voice of reason, a trait most of us wish we could emulate. Khushru Uncle may have been a Fazal by name, but he, Farid Auntie, and the girls are really all Ismails. Khushru Uncle was the 8th Ismail brother. They all are a part and parcel of our family. My earliest memory of Khushru Uncle goes back to the late 1970s, when he, Farid Auntie, along with Femina and Soraya, came to our house in Catford, southeast London. He drove a dark-coloured Austin Maxi, such a nice, spacious car, especially for that era. I loved cars when I was a kid. The family bond between the families grew stronger when in the early 1980s we moved to Colindale in North London, very close to their home in Bernays Close in Stanmore. We used to get together regularly, especially during the month of Ramadan, where we had iftar together. We had the Quran recitations. At that time, Khushru Uncle had a Rover 3.5 litre SD1, golden colour, if my memory serves me right. What a car, I used to think. When I was growing up, I'm going to have a car like that. He used to drive on the fast lane of the motorway, and as a kid, I felt as if I was in an aeroplane. In those days, the police were driving similar cars, but they only had the 2.6 litre version. Khushru Uncle always said to me, he could beat them if he had a race with them. He had a much faster and powerful car. Our stay in North London was short-lived when my father and uncle bought a business in South London, hence we had to move. The distance did not make a difference to us and our families. Uncle and his family would come to us and we would go to see them often. We have many fond memories, but the one I treasure the most was when I passed my driving test at the ripe old age of 18, and my dad bought me the best car I ever had. It was Khushru Uncle's old car. No, unfortunately, it wasn't the Rover SD1, but a Ford Escort Mark II, license plate FCD349V. Khushru Uncle drove it from North London to us in the south. He then showed me how the car worked and all of its functions. I was so excited, my first car, but a little nervous too about driving on my own, no more instructor. He said to me, right, sit in the driver's seat and let's take you for a spin. I hesitated, but he put me at ease straight away and said, don't worry, I'm with you. We drove for a short while. And when we got on the main road, he said, let's go a little faster. What he actually meant was, let's get out of second gear. I was nervous, but with his calm demeanor, he gave me the ability to drive that car with no problems. And within 10, 15 minutes, he'd given me the confidence that I was king of the road. I can sit here for many hours telling you about his good qualities and some lovely, wonderful stories from our memories. But I'm sure a lot of you know him well and have experienced some of your own memories in that time you had with him. But I think one thing that made him so successful in this world and will also make him successful on his onward journey was his practice of Silat al-Rahim. This practice is so important, so cherished, so loved by our Ahlul Bayt. He loved his family. You've just seen one of his granddaughters. We've seen his grandsons deliver a poem a few nights ago. He was a loving and devoted husband, father, father-in-law, and grandfather, not forgetting uncles and friends alike. He kept excellent relations with his entire family, whether they were here in the UK, Africa, America, Canada, and other parts of the world. He always kept in touch. This is so important for us to continue. And this is my advice to my generation and the next generation, that we take this lesson from Khushru uncle and his generation and keep this practice alive. Remember, it is your family that will always be there for you. I have lost an uncle and a friend. He was dear to us all in one way or another. And so I end this short talk, and can I ask you to recite a Surah Fatiha for Marhum Khushru, Gulamali Fazal, and all our Marhumins and Kule Marhumin. Al-Fatiha. Ahsan, thank you for listening. Thank you for participating. Without you, we wouldn't be able to do this Majlis. Thank you for joining on Zoom. Thank you for joining on YouTube. Thank you for all of your messages of support and condolence. And thank you to all of the reciters, especially Dr. Ali Al-Hilli for his very eloquent talk. And inshallah, we will post out when we will reconvene. In the meantime, take care. Ihtimas dua. Khuda Hafiz.